Hello friends, today we will learn about Staphylococcus. We will discuss about details about Staphylococcus. So let's begin. So in this video we will study about species. Under species we will study about Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus epidermis, Staphylococcus saprophyticus, and under this next we will study about Staphylococcus aureus. Under this we will study about morphology, culture, biochemical reactions, resistance, antigenic structure, toxins and enzymes, pathogenesis. Next, bacteriophage typing, antibacteric sensitivity, epidemiology, laboratory, diagnosis, treatment and control. Next, we will study about other coagulase positive staphylococcus. Next, we will study about coagulase negative staphylococci. Under this, we will study about Staphylococcus epidermis and Staphylococcus saprophyticus. Next, we will study about micrococci. So, let's begin with the introduction of Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus are gram positive cocci arranged in grape-like clusters. They are the commonest cause of suppuration. Sir Alexander Ogston in 1880, a Scotch surgeon, established the pathogenic role of coccus in abscesses and other suppurative lesions. He gave the name Staphylococcus, that means staphyle meaning a bunch of grapes, coccus means a berry. From the typical arrangement of the cocci in grape-like clusters, he also observed that staphylococcal strains from pyogenic lesions produce golden yellow colonies while those from the normal skin produce white colonies on solid cluster media. Rosenbach in 1884 named them Staphylococcus aureus and Staphylococcus albus respectively. Another scientist named Passett in 1885 described a third strain of Staphylococcus that produces lemon yellow color and named it as Staphylococcus citrius. Since pigment production is not a constant character, this classification is now obsolete. Now let's know about species. The genus Staphylococcus contains various species, but the medically important species are Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus epidermis like this. We will study first of all about Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus aureus is a pathogenic staphylococcus that causes pyogenic infections in man. Now let's know about Staphylococcus epidermis. Staphylococcus epidermis is a skin commensal. Now let's know about Staphylococcus saprophyticus. Staphylococcus saprophyticus acts as an opportunistic pathogen. Pathogenic strains have certain characteristics like production of enzymes, coagulase, phosphatases, deoxyribonuclease, and their ability to ferment mannitol. Based on production of enzyme coagulase, staphylococcus are classified as coagulase positive and coagulase negative. Most of the coagulase positive strains produce golden yellow colonies and are known as Staphylococcus aureus, also named as Staphylococcus pyogenes. These strains are toxigenic. The coagulase negative strains are generally non-pathogenic, non-toxigenic and form white colonies. These are called Staphylococcus epidermis, formerly known as Staphylococcus albus. Now let's know about Staphylococcus aureus. let's know about the morphology. They are gram-positive cocci arranged in grape-like clusters, non-motile, non-sporing, approximately 1 micrometer in diameter. Cluster formation is due to sequential division of bacteria in three perpendicular planes with daughter cells remaining in close proximity. They may also be present singly, in pairs, tetrads, or short chains of 3 or 4 cells, especially when examined from liquid culture. A few strains may possess microscopically visible capsules, especially in young clusters. Many apparently non-capsulated strains also have some amount of capsular material on the surface. Now, let's know about the culture. They grow medially on ordinary culture media within a temperature range of 10 to 42 degrees centigrade. The optimal temperature being 37 degrees centigrade and pH 7.4 to 7.6. They are aerobes and facultative anaerobes. Now, let's know about nutrient agar. After overnight or 24 hours incubation, the colonies are 22 to 4 mm in diameter, circular, smooth, convex, opaque, and easily emulsifiable. Most of the stains produce golden yellow pigment. The pigment is not diffusible into the medium. Pigment production is best seen at 22 to 25 degrees centigrade and only in aerobic cultures. Pigment production is enhanced by incorporation of 1% glycerol monoacetate or milk in the medium. The pigment is believed to be carotenoid. Now let's know about blood agar. Colonies are similar to those on nutrient agar, and in addition a beta type of hemolysis is seen. Hemolysis is best observed with sheep or rabbit blood. Now let's know about McConkie agar. Colonies are very small and pink due to lactose fermentation. Now let's know about selective media. These media are used for isolating Staphylococcus aureus from samples. Such species contains containing other bacteria. Staphylococcus can tolerate 8 to 10% NaCl, sodium chloride, lithium chloride, tellurite, and polymyxin. Incorporation of these reagents into media make them selective. Now let's know about mannitol salt agar. This is both a selective and an indicator medium. It contains nutrient agar with 1% mannitol, 7.5% sodium chloride, and phenol red as indicator. Yellow colored colonies are seen on this medium due to fermentation of mannitol by most strains of Staphylococcus aureus. Mannitol fermentation leads to production of acid and lowers the pH of medium, that is phenol red produces yellow color in acidic pH. Now let's know about milk agar. This medium is prepared by mixing sterile nutrient agar and sterilized milk. Colonies of Staphylococcus aureus are larger than those on nutrient agar and pigment production is enhanced. Now let's know about liquid medium. Uniform turbidity is produced in peptone water or nutrient broth. Now let's know about biochemical reactions. Staphylococcus aureus is catalyzed positive and oxidized negative. It breaks down carbohydrates by fermentation, whereas micrococci break down sugars aerobically. This property can be tested on Hugh Leifenson medium, in short O by F medium. It ferments a number of sugars producing acid without gas. These fermentation reactions are of no diagnostic value except mannitol fermentation, which may be useful to differentiate Staphylococcus aureus, that is, mannitol is positive, and Staphylococcus epidermis, here mannitol is negative. The following, there are some characteristics help to distinguish a pathogenic strain of Staphylococcus aureus from other non-pathogenic strains. Like example, Staphylococcus epidermis. First is beta type of hemolysis on blood's agar. Second is production of a golden yellow pigment. Third is coagulase production. Fourth is mannitol fermentation. Fifth is gelatin liquefaction. Sixth is phosphatase production. Seventh is production of enzyme deoxyribonuclease. Eighth is telluride reduction. Now let's know about phosphatase test. Most strains of Staphylococcus aureus produce enzyme phosphatase. For detection of this enzyme, Staphylococcus aureus is grown on nutrient agar containing phenolphthalein diphosphate. Enzyme phosphatase acts on phenolphthalein salt to release free phenolphthalein. The colonies run pink when exposed to ammonia vapor due to the presence of free phenolphthalein. Now, let's know about deoxyribonuclease test. Staphylococcus aureus produces enzyme deoxyribonuclease which hydrolyzes DNA. Next is telluride reduction. Staphylococcus aureus reduces telluride to tellurium producing black colonies when ground in a medium containing potassium telluride. Example, potassium telluride blood agar used for C. diphtheria. Now let's know about other biochemical tests. Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus hydrolyzes urea reduce nitrates to nitrites are indole negative and are MR and VP positive. Most strains are lipolytic and produce a dense opacity when grown on egg yolk medium. These tests are of lesser importance. Now let's know about resistance. Staphylococcus are more resistant among the non-sporing bacteria. They survive in dried pus for 2 to 3 months. Most of the dried pus Most of the staphylococci are killed at 62 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes, but some may require 80 degrees centigrade for 1 hour. Heat resistant strains may even grow at a higher temperature of 45 degrees centigrade. Most strains grow well in the presence of 10% sodium chloride. These features are significant in food preservation. They are killed by crystal violet at a concentration of 1 in 500,000 and by brilliant green at a concentration of 1 in 10 million. This is the reason that crystal violet agar is used as selective medium for isolation of staphylococci. Staphylococci are resistant to 1% phenol for 15 minutes while mercury perchloride, that is 1% solution, kills them in 10 minutes. They are resistant to lysozyme, but some micrococci are sensitive to it. Staphylococci are generally sensitive to lysostaphin, which is a mixture of enzymes produced by a particular strain of Staphylococcus epidermis. Now, let's know about antigenic structure. First point is capsule. Some strains of Staphylococcus aureus possess capsule and inhibit phagocytosis. The, the capsule is composed of polysaccharide. Capsulated strains tend to be more virulent. Now, let's know about peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycans is a polysaccharide polymer that provides rigidity to the cell wall. It activates complement and evokes production of inflammatory cytokines. Now let's know about teichoic acid. It is a major antigenic determinant of all strains of Staphylococcus aureus. It is the group specific ribitol teichoic acid of the cell wall. It facilitates adhesion of the cocci to the host cell surface and protects them from complement mediated opsonization. It is associated with the peptidoglycan in an insoluble form. It is absent in Staphylococcus epidermis. The latter contains glycerol teichoic acid. Now let's know about protein A. It is a cell wall component of most strains of Staphylococcus aureus, especially CoV1 strain. It is chemotactic, antiphagocytic, anti-complementary, and elicits platelet injury. CoV1 strains coated with any IgG antiserum will be agglutinated if mixed with its corresponding antigen. This procedure is known as coagglutination. Now let's know about toxins and enzymes. Staphylococcus aureus forms a number of toxins and enzymes. They are important virulence factors of the organism for producing a disease in the host. Now let's know about toxins. Hemolysins. First point is hemolysin. Four antigenically distinct types called alpha, beta, gamma, and delta hemolysins are produced by staphylococci. They are exotoxins. Now let's know about alpha lysine. Alpha lysine, also known as alpha toxin, is the most important in pathogenicity. In cultures, it is produced only under aerobic conditions. It is a protein and is inactivated at 60 degrees centigrade. The toxin regains activity if it is further heated to 80 degrees centigrade, 100 degrees centigrade. This is due to toxin combining with an inhibitor at 60 degrees centigrade. At higher temperature, the inhibitor is inactivated, resulting in setting the toxin free. Alpha lysine is lytic to rabbit erythrocytes but less active against sheep or human red cells. It is also cytotoxic, leukocidal, and dermonecrotic. It causes injury to the circulatory system and muscle tissue. Now let's know about beta lysine. Beta lysine is hemolytic for sheep cells but not for human or rabbit erythrocytes. Lysis is initiated at 37 degrees centigrade but it is evident only on cold temperature. It is named as hot cold phenomenon. It is produced both aerobically as well as anaerobically. It has been identified as sphingomyelinase. Now let's know about gamma lysine. It acts on human, sheep, and rabbit erythrocytes. Now let's know about delta lysine. The delta lysine is lytic to human, sheep, and rabbit red blood cells. Now let's know about leukocidin. It is composed of two components, that is S means slow, and F means fast. These components damage polymorphonuclear leukocytes and macrophages. This toxin is also called as the Panton Valentine toxin after its discoverers. Now let's know about enterotoxin. The toxin is responsible for staphylococcal food poisoning, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea occurring within 2 to 6 hours of consuming contaminated food. Consuming contaminated food. 8, that is A, B, C1, C2, C3, D, E, H antigenically distinct enterotoxins have been identified. Some strains may form toxin of more than one type. Type A toxin is responsible for the most cases. The enterotoxin is resistant to gut enzyme. It also resists boiling for 30 minutes, a temperature that kills Staphylococcus aureus. Toxin is produced when Staphylococcus aureus grows in carbohydrate and protein foods, usually cooked foods. Milk and milk products have also been implicated. The food may contain performed toxin but not the bacteria. The source of infection is usually a staphylococcal lesion in skin of fingers of food handler. The ingestion of micrograms of toxin can lead to food poisoning. The toxin is believed to act directly on the autonomic nervous system to cause the illness. Enterotoxins have also been implicated in some cases of antibiotic diarrhea. The toxin can be detected by serological tests such as ELISA and lattice agglutination. Now let's know about toxic shock syndrome toxin. In short, TSST. This condition is characterized by fever, hypotension, vomiting, diarrhea, and an erythematous rush with subsequent desquamation and hyperanemia of mucous membranes. Hyperemia of mucous membrane. Most TSST producing strains belong to bacteriophage group 1. TSST type 1 is most often responsible. TSS1 toxin producing strains colonize vagina for more frequently. Now let's know about exfoliative toxin. Two types of exfoliative toxin, that is A and B, have been described. Toxin A is heat stable while toxin B is heat labile. Production of toxin A is under chromosomal control whereas toxin B is plasmid mediated. These toxins are produced by some strains of Staphylococcus aureus. They cause epidermal splitting resulting in blistering diseases. It may lead to generalized desquamation, producing staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome. In short, SSSS. The severe form of SSSS is known as Ritter's disease in the newborn. Milder form are pemphigus, neonatum, and bullous impetigo. Now let's know about enzyme. Staphylococcus aureus produces a number of enzymes, coagulase, phosphatase, and deoxyribonuclease, which are related to virulence of the bacteria. Now let's know about Staphylococcus aureus produces an enzyme coagulase. There are 8 antigenic type of coagulase, that is A to H. Most human strains produce coagulase type A. It has a property to clot human or rabbit plasma. Coagulase is secreted free into culture medium. It is heat labile. It requires a plasma factor for its clotting action. CRF is present in rabbit and human plasma. Clotting does not take place with guinea pig plasma because it lacks CRF. Coagulase converts fibrinogen into fibrin. Clumping factor is heat stable constituent of the cell wall which reacts directly with the fibrinogen and causes clumping of cocci due to the precipitation of fibrin on the cell surface. The test for coagulase is done by the slide and the tube method. It is done to differentiate pathogenic strain from non-pathogenic strain. Now let's know about slide coagulase test. Slide coagulase test detects bound coagulase. A few colonies of bacteria are emulsified in a drop of normal saline on a clean glass slide and mixed with a drop of undiluted rabbit or human plasma. Prompt clumping of the suspension occurs with coagulase positive strain. False positive results may occur in cases of citrate utilizing bacteria. Some stains which are negative for bound coagulase but positive for free coagulase gives false negative results by slide coagulase test. Hence, this should be confirmed by tube coagulase test. Now, let's know about tube coagulase test. Tube coagulase test is done for detection of extracellular free coagulase. 0.01 ml of an overnight broth culture or an agar culture suspension of the organism is mixed with 0.5 ml of a 1 in 5 dilution of human or rabbit plasma. Diluted plasma alone in a second tube serve as a control. The tubes are incubated in a water bath at 37 degrees centigrade for 3 to 6 hours. In case of a positive test, the plasma clots and does not flow when the tube is inverted. If clot does not appear, it is left overnight at room temperature and is re-examined. On continued incubation, the clot may be lysed by production of fibrinogen by some stains. Controls with known coagulase positive and coagulase negative cultures must included with each batch of test. Now let's know about false positive. Citrated plasma should not be used because some contaminated bacteria may utilize the citrate and produce false positive reaction. Oxalate, EDTA or heparin are more suitable anticoagulants. Now let's know about pathogenesis. Staphylococcus aureus is an important pyogenic organism and lesions are localized in nature in contrast to staphylococcal lesions which are spreading in nature. Coagulase enhances virulence of Staphylococcus aureus by inhibiting phagocytosis. It forms a wall of fibrin clot around the lesion. Thick creamy pus is formed in staphylococcal infections. Staphylococcal diseases may be classified as cutaneous and deep infections. Food poisoning, nosocomial infections, skin exfoliative diseases, and toxic shock syndrome. Now, let's know about cutaneous infections. Superficial infections include pustules, boils, carbuncles, abscesses, stys, impetigo, pemphigus neonatum, wound and burn infections. Now let's know about deep infections. These include osteomyelitis, tonsillitis, pharyngitis, sinusitis, pneumo, pneumonitis, empyema, septicemia, pyemia. They may cause urinary tract infections, especially in association with local instrumentation or diabetes. Now let's know about food poisoning. Staphylococcal food poisoning may follow 2 to 6 hours after the ingestion of contaminated food which contains performed enterotoxin of Staphylococcus aureus. Now let's know about nosocomial infections. They are important cause of hospital acquired infections. Now let's know about skin exfoliative diseases. These diseases are produced by the stains of Staphylococcus aureus that produce epidermolytic toxin. Stripping of the superficial layers of the skin form the underlying tissue occurs in the various exfoliative syndromes caused by staphylococci and scalded skin syndrome is one example of exfoliative diseases in which toxin spreads systematically. It is seen but not exclusively in small children. Now let's know about toxin shock syndrome, in short TSS. It is caused by toxin shock syndrome, toxin in short TSST, and characterized by high fever, hypotension, vomiting, diarrhea, and scarletiniform rash. Although TSS became widely known in association with the use of tampons by menstruating women, but it occurs in other situations also. Now let's know about bacteriophage typing. Strains of Staphylococcus aureus may be distinguished by their susceptibility to different bacteriophages. Internationally accepted set of phages is used. A set of 23 bacteriophages is employed. The strain to be typed is grown on nutrient agar to produce a lawn culture. After drying, the phages of basic sets are applied in a fixed dose. After overnight incubation, the culture will be observed for lysis by the phages. The phage type is designated according to the phages capable of lysing the bacterial strain. Thus, a strain of phage type is the phase type 52 by 80 by 94 is the one that is lysed only by phages 52, 80 and 94. Phase typing is important in epidemiological studies of staphylococcal infections. The reference center for staphylococcal phase typing in India is located in the Department of Microbiology, Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. Type of typing set of staphylococcal phages: group 1, that is 29, 52, 52A, 79, 80. Group 2, in group 2, 3A, 3C, 55, 71. Group 3, 6, 42, 42E, 47, 53, 54.